Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Hurt, and I am so happy to be here with you this afternoon to tell you about a really neat piece of software that I'm so glad that Anui led this afternoon's session with a literacy project, which I think is fascinating. And I'm not going to do this whole presentation in Burmese because I unfortunately embarrassingly can't speak any words in Burmese, but I'm excited to share with you about the Bloom software, which is very relevant to what Anui just talked about. Specifically, Bloom is designed to accelerate literacy and multilingual education efforts. And it does this by enabling language communities to create and share those books that you saw on the screen in Anui's project in a very simple way. As a way of introduction, I am with SIL International, and I'm part of a software development team that has developed this software. So here we go. There's a problem in literacy efforts, essentially that among local language projects, that when you're working in local language literacy and education projects, we end up settling for what is practical instead of what is actually needed. That is to say that when you develop that primer and you go through all the effort of making a few books, and that takes oftentimes weeks and very intense learning of advanced document software, desktop publishing software, we're hoping that that's going to be enough to open the joy of reading to a whole group of people who've never been able to read their language before in real books. But realistically, and the research tells us that it takes many, many titles, literally hundreds of books, to make reading worthwhile and give the diversity, linguistic diversity on the page, and give the practice needed to develop true literacy in their mother tongue language. Who's going to make all these books? How are we going to find the time? It's very time intensive to do the cutting and the pasting and the drawing. Where are we going to get the content? So we settle for the possible, and we hope for the best. This is where Bloom comes in. So with Bloom, many people can get involved, not just the foreigner or someone who's trained in making books and primers and things, but anyone can learn to do this task and to make books. We can involve lots of people, and we can build a whole library. That's the concept with Bloom. We're trying to grow a library for each of these mother tongue languages. And Bloom was designed for new computer users in mind. Okay? They're going to need far less training than you would normally need if you're going to use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Publisher, LibreOffice, Adobe InDesign. All these different programs are very advanced, very capable, but they take a lot of training. And there's a lot of ways that people can mess up or get lost in the programs. Bloom has had a lot of success, and it really came into its own when it became the grand prize winner for the Enabling Writers Competition sponsored by All Children Reading and USAID. This happened last year, and it's been an 18-month process or so in which Bloom has developed specific features to meet this competition's standard. And so SIL and the Bloom team are delighted that this occurred, and now Bloom is being used worldwide to accelerate literacy projects and multilingual education. We'd like to see more of that in Asia, and so far it's picking up steam, but we don't have a lot of examples yet in Asia. But with USAID, Bloom is the tool of choice for literacy, primer, and simple bookmaking. So in 2016, we expect Bloom will be used to accelerate literacy and multilingual educational efforts in dozens of minority languages and national languages around the globe. So we're excited about that, and the Bloom development team stands ready to support when there's bug fixes, when there's feature requests. All that is taken into account. Here's some feedback from someone in the Uganda school health system. This week, a new typist joined our workshop, and I spent half an hour showing him Bloom and then left him to it. When I checked on him later in the day, he was doing just fine. I thought, what other program could I have put in front of him such that he would be able to use it with just half an hour's orientation? Bloom takes away all of the complexities of using a program and puts the task directly in front of the user. So some of the project goals that Bloom was designed to achieve. We want to see a 10-time increase in local language books, mother tongue books. We want to see sustainable book production done entirely by the local community without any foreigner or expat expert involvement. Just minimal training, let them go do their thing. And Bloom has all these features to be able to enable that. Specifically, we're focusing on these types of users, local language speakers who are authoring new books in their language with their cultural stories, with their things that they would normally tell orally. Write those things down, record them in books to teach people how to read. Secondly, those translating existing material into a local language. One of the powerful features of Bloom is that it allows you to translate from one language to another right inside the program. You're presented with a language you already know, the story's already written, you just got to fill in the translation, because as a mother tongue speaker, well, it does this automatically as part of the workflow of the program. You just have to fill in the blanks. And finally, another user, we want to enable people to share their work and make it possible to duplicate these stories. Some stories are more applicable in a local context, but other ones, maybe it's information about health or children's safety or dangers or other things that are applicable all over. Those things, the story can be told once, the picture's laid out, and then it can be translated many times into many different languages, and the benefits just multiply. So that's who that's for as well. Now I'm going to talk about some specific Bloom features that I think you'll like. Bloom, it's configured automatically with a title page, copyright page, front and back matter, all those things, and then it has predefined page templates that you can use. But that's not where it ends. If you need to customize something, you want to put that picture on the left or below the text or add 2 columns, no problem. That can be customized with very little training. It's built in images and text are the 2 main components of a page. You can easily pull in images from a scanner, from a camera, or from a file system like on the USB stick or something. In addition to that, Bloom integrates tightly with a free collection called the Art of Reading. That's a collection of thousands of fully licensed images that you can use and reproduce as many times as you want. It's a database that's searchable, so if you type in frog or cat or tree or something, you need that, it'll bring up those things, and it's indexed in multiple languages. I don't know all of the languages it is, but if you search for Frosch, like in German, you'll get the image of frog as well, just as in the English. There are specific tools for literacy, such as the decodable reader tool. And as Anui pointed out, that's part of the literacy and the primer process. This tool allows you to define stages where there's letters and words that are configured for each stage. Bloom will help you through that, and it will show you a list of words that contain only those configured letters that are allowed for that stage, and it highlights them and gives you examples. So basically it guides you in creating leveled readers for your literacy program. Bloom also can dynamically change between a bilingual and a trilingual book just with a drop-down switch. So if you want to add in that second language and you want to have 2 languages in the same book, no problem. It just adds another field and you can start typing away in that second language. It handles the layout for you automatically. In addition to that, this is how the translation is done. If you've already got what we call a template or a shell book, it's already written, say, in English or Indonesian or in Burmese, but then you're going down into the local language, no problem. You just you read it across the top and type in your local language at the bottom, and it records all that information. You can choose to show or hide different languages, and then that can be reproduced and used as a template for someone else, maybe a related language. Similarly to the decodable reader tool is the leveled reader tool. And this helps you write books that conform to careful defined levels of reading difficulty, specifically how many words per page, and maybe even like the length of words that, or the length of characters in a word, so you don't have too advanced words for your readers. That's all configurable and it's part of the Bloom software. One of the really important things, sometimes it's more important to different countries than others, is licensing. Do we have permission to use this picture? Do we have permission to use this story or the whole work? All of these things are built into the Bloom software that calls out very carefully who has the right to do what. The default in Bloom is what's called a Creative Commons license. This gives the creator the permission to share the information, including the images, freely with whoever they want, and as long as they attribute the original author, they can then base more books off that original work. It's all built in, and it keeps track of it exactly embedded in the image and in the books itself, the files, all this information. And finally, when it comes down to actually printing the books, this is a one-click process. You simply click on the Publish tab. You can choose the format, the size of the paper, whether you want it a booklet form or single page up, and it automatically resizes things. Go from A4 to A5 to A3. It does that automatically. Click Print. Out comes your PDF. You can save it to a USB. It's all built in, and it works really well. There is an additional component which allows us to share our books with the world, and that's on bloomlibrary.org. So if you're, after this presentation, whenever you get back to your hotel tonight, you can go visit this website and see the books that are already up there. Every book that is uploaded to bloomlibrary.org can become a shell book or a template for other people to then reuse that story and those images that they've given permission to share, and it can be translated into other languages. Okay, today there's already 346 books that are available on bloomlibrary.org. So I would encourage you to check it out. Some things that we're concerned here in Southeast Asia is non-Roman script support. Yes, Bloom supports non-Roman scripts. It supports the Burmese script, the Thai script, Khmer, all of that is out of the box supported right here. Secondly, Bloom takes longevity and sharing seriously. It does this by using HTML and PDF formats as the underlying output and storage. So you're never going to be concerned. I don't know if any of you were doing literacy primer making and things 15 years ago and you did that shell book or that primer in Word 97 or Word 95. Those formats, or maybe an obscure version of Corel or Publisher or something, those formats are long gone. And sometimes those files, we can't even read them anymore. Okay? 15, 20 years from now, HTML and PDF are going to still be around, and they're going to be just as easy to read. I guarantee it. So this is something we take very seriously, and it's a very open standard. Some things you may be wondering, well, what's next for Bloom? There is, in future releases, we're going to have EPUB export format. What does that mean? It means I think pretty much everyone in the room has one of these, a smartphone. EPUB allows us to put the book on the phone. You can distribute it via Bluetooth. You can distribute it via the internet. It's all in there. And the book that you make, maybe today you're printing it, tomorrow people are going to be reading it on their phones, and that's a critical feature. Secondly, going along with that is the ability to record audio to read the text alongside. When the person's learning to read, you can say, well, read it aloud to me. That's a feature that could happen on your mobile phone or tablet, and that's coming as well. Finally, some teams are distributed and they want to work together to build booklets. Currently, you can't in order to do that, you'd have to pass the file manually around, and what if you get different versions and things? SIL software development is experienced in the offline collaboration features, and so we're building those into Bloom as well. Okay, some more feedback. My local colleagues are so excited about all the possibilities that Bloom has opened up to them. For the first time, they'll be able to produce books for their own language, whether or not there's a foreign linguist on the ground working with them. So with Bloom, it's never been easier to grow a library. And if you can type, you can make books. It's as simple as that. And for more information, to download Bloom, to go and browse the books online, just visit this web address. I hope that every one of you got one of these cards. If you didn't, come up and get one. This is your reminder to go check out the website and download. Bloom is free software. It's open source. It's our gift to the community, to the world, to go and make books, build a library in every mother tongue language out there. And that's it. Are there any questions? Yes?
Does it work with Mac or PC?
That's a very good question. It runs on Windows, and there's a Linux version. We don't have a Mac version at this time, but you can run it in Parallels and other emulation software on the Mac. It's a .NET application.
So will it be available to Mac users?
I can't make any, that's not a particular development priority at this point, but I think that if there was enough interest, for instance, if you go to that bloomlibrary.org website, there's a section on like future, like suggestions, contact the developers. If you make your voice heard and you say, I'm going to use Bloom on this literacy project with this many languages, and we want to make this many books, but we need a Mac to do it, you should tell them that. Make your voice heard. Yes?
Yeah, most of the history production centers in Australia, in remote communities, they have Macs.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
would be very interested in this
I think
program.
Cambodia is also fairly Apple heavy as well. So there are certain countries and regions that rely upon the Mac more so than others.
Is your presentation available online for us
I
to share?
will make it available online. I'll make sure that I don't know exactly how the sharing of presentation is going, but I'll make it available to the.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you for your nice presentations. I have a query. Do you have Devanagari script system over here?
Does it support Devanagari?
Yeah.
I can
My
say
question-
that it does. It does support Devanagari.
Unicode system?
Yes. it
Unicode
is.
Devanagari.
Yes. It's
Yes.
fully compatible. You know, you need to
Because
supply
I'm from
the font,
Nepal,
yes.
I'm concerned with
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
uses the underlying SIL technology to be
Uh-huh.
able to display non-Roman scripts. It's a special component of our systems that allows us to display every non-Roman script out there. So the answer is yes. No, we do have Bloom localized in, I think, 8 different languages. We need your help to
Yes.
localize the software so that then you can take that into your context and use it. Because it's actually not that hard. You can contact us, the developers, and say, I'm willing to put a few hours in to localize the menus. There's really not that many menus. You know, how do you localize A4? You know, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Sure.
Really, another key step is editing, because some people love to write lots of books, but their spelling is bad and so forth.
Yes.
Is there any way in the workflow to say, you know, this book has been approved by the committee or anything like that, or is that coming soon?
As far as workflow features, I don't know of a review or approval process, but that's certainly something that could be suggested on our website and say, I would really like to have this feature for these reasons. Or I would use Bloom if it could do this, that sort of thing.
For the language function, were you saying that it also translates one language to another?
It's not an automatic translation. It simply presents a box. So a box in English, for instance, which would already have the content in it, and you're translating into your local language. Or maybe it's already in the Myanmar language and you're going into your local mother tongue language. So it shows you the Myanmar language, and then you type. You have to think of the translation, right? It's not an automatic translation tool, but it facilitates you to easily do that, and you don't have to worry about the formatting at all.
Does it use adaptive at all?
It does not have adaptive features.
I know that's also SIL.
Yes. Good question.
Sort of questions, but I just want to congratulate SIL for this, production and innovation. It seems that it can be very useful to our work for early childhood education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
You mentioned that it's not being used in Asia that much, but are there any cases in Asia and non-Roman scripts where books have been produced using Bloom?
I should know the answer to that question, and I cannot point to a specific example right now, although I'm pretty sure that there are projects that are interested in using it, but we haven't seen the results of those reports. The most recent usage I know of is less than 3 weeks ago. There was a Bloom workshop in Ethiopia talking that produced over 60 books among 6 different languages. That happened January 25 to 29. So we keep getting these reports of Bloom being used around. And as I said, USAID is using this as their go-to tool when they implement literacy programs.
Well, someone just mentioned that Bangladesh is using this. Is this correct? Anyone confirm this?
I would not be surprised. So really, Bloom is more than a tool. It's a call to action to all of you to then go and spread the word about Bloom. Say, hey, this is possible now. Now we can build a library in all of these different languages because we don't have to resource foreigners or specialists to do this work. Anyone can do it. If you can type on a computer, Bloom is for you. Thank you.